Hi there, my name is Ron Rogers, and I am going to tell you about a mysterious twist to a fatal accident. Actually, it's even more than mysterious. It is downright bizarre. But let me give you just a little bit of background here first. Now, all Air Force military pilots, they've got their collection of cups. We've got a little bit of a hero wall, a hero rack, and I've got from training command, side experimental test pilots, flight test center, stuff like that. And I was in the Youngstown unit, and part of my collection is a coffee cup from the Youngstown Reserve unit. Now, that unit flew the A-37 as fighters. We had a full complement of munitions and stuff. They went and became fast facts later, but right now we're still flying them as close air support fighters, and it was really cool. We carried a lot of stuff. I digress slightly, but anyway, Youngstown flew the A-37 from 73 to 81, and I got in the unit in 1980. Now, I had recently been hired by United Airlines as a pilot, and I was looking to continue military service in the reserves, the Guard, something like that. And my wife lives south of Sioux City in a little town called Ottawa. And I thought, we could move. We wanted to be close to one set of folks, either mine or hers. And I thought, well, I'll go talk to the Air National Guard people up at Sioux City there. And I walk in, and the guy, the squadron commander there, greets me, says hello, and asks me if I'm there for the accident investigation. And I said, no, I wanted to see about possibly getting a pilot's job. And he goes, well, yeah, we could use a pilot. We just lost one. No, he didn't say anything that crass, but that's kind of the thought. But anyway, I'm not sure I wanted to fly in that unit because how can you fly an airplane with the canopies all frosted over like that? Doesn't look good at all. But anyway, I decided it would be, I didn't want to mess with commuting and stuff like that. So I'd moved to Chicago area, and that was closer to my folks. So, it's not a bad distance between the two. So I go in there, and I'm on a trip flying as a 737 second officer. Yeah, I go into that other detail. And one of the guys, the co-pilot actually mentions about this A-37 unit in Youngstown, Ohio. Cool. So I go by there and I stop in, and they had just had an accident. Kind of interesting. And I talk about this in one of the other videos about the lap belt issue, that rotating lap belt, because people could catch their sleeve on the one that had the little clasp there. So they upgraded them to the rotating lap belt, but this lap belt had an issue. Now there's a little gotcha in the A-37 that if it's got several, but one of them is if you make a aggressive hard turn, you can flame out both engines. Those J85s suck a lot of air in there, and there's not much of an intake to smooth the airflow, and you can disrupt the airflow and you can flame them both out. And the previous commander made a hard turn at low altitude and flamed out both of the engines. Well, you're not going to get them restarted, so he punches out. In the process of punching out, the lap belt does not open. He hits the ground in the seat, and he's killed. And I looked and looked. I spent hours trying to find out accident information. It's hard enough to find accident information in the military, but going back this far was a little more difficult. As you can see here, it gives that it's a Cessna A-37B, belongs to the Air Force, of course. It gives you the registration number, but it doesn't have anything about fatalities. It tells you where it went down. I think this was the commander because of the date of being there in 79. There was a slightly previous crash to this, and that's the one I'm going to talk about, and that's the one that gets a bit bizarre. This aircraft is flown single pilot, although there are two seats. We typically fly it single pilot, and it was on a simulated bombing mission, and he's flying at low altitude, and he's doing the low altitude terrain following and that, and he ends up getting into difficulty. What they suspect, it was a rather hilly terrain where he was going over, and what they suspect was he was following the terrain, looking at the trees, but in the background were the deciduous trees that had lost all of their foliage. So what they speculate, because they don't really know, there's no recorders or anything like that, and obviously it happened so fast there was no sort of distress call that had any indication of what had happened. But anyway, they think he was looking at the trees, avoiding it, did not see the trees behind it, which were stuck up higher, flew into them, crashed, and crashed into the terrain, and the aircraft was destroyed, and he was killed. There was no opportunity to eject. Well, they did the accident investigation. This whole thing goes along, and they close it on out, and it seems like fairly cut and dried. Unintentional impact with the terrain, low altitude following the train. There was an optical illusion because of the trees, and they pretty much said, well, that's the deal. All right, I'm talking to one of the longtime members in the squadron, and one evening we're just having a little chat, and he says, there's a real funny little appendix to that whole accident. And I go, well, what is it? And he goes, well, one evening I get this call, and I get this call from the hunter, a hunter, and he says, I've got a confession. And he goes, what? He says, one of your aircraft was flying over the hills there. I was out hunting, and I took a shot at it. He says, I don't know what I was doing. I just took a shot at it. And he says, and then seconds later, it crashed. All right. Well, this isn't a picture of the actual accident because, like I said, I don't have the accident report. I don't have anything on this. But he said the aircraft crashed, and he said, it has just been bothering me for an extremely long time. And he says, I just finally had to call. Well, the pilot who took the call, he said, we never thought of having the body checked for bullet holes or anything like that. The body, I guess, was in pretty bad shape anyway. They'd have done extensive autopsy if they even could have found something like that. And of course, the chances of the guy actually hitting the aircraft and actually inflicting a fatal wound would be kind of minor. Although we did have aircraft that came back with bullet holes in them, and several of the aircraft, the guys would show me patches. I guess a lot of the local people did not appreciate our aircraft flying low over the Pennsylvania area, which is just east of Youngstown, Ohio, and we had our ranges in that area. And I guess they didn't like us flying over that area very much, and they would take pot shots at us, and some of the aircraft got hit. So the guy who took the call, he didn't take any information on the guy. He just said, okay, and ended up hanging up. He says, the accident was done. It was closed out. He didn't want to open a can of worms, as it were. And he says he just let it go. Should he have done that or not? Should he have reported it? Wasn't my call. But that was the bizarre twist to this accident that they thought they understood and closed, and may have had just a slight weird twist to it. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you found it interesting and informative.